For my economics class for my MBA, I did an analysis of U.S. tax revenues, which is supply, and expenditures, or spending, which is demand, from 1942 to 2010. This was a simple analysis, but made so much sense to so many people about why we have such a deficit. In such a demand for tax revenues, but very little supply of tax revenues. So, here's my brief introduction. In 1930 through 1945, most of the tax revenues were spent on recovering from the Great Depression of 1930 and World War II. After World War II ended, the U.S. spent large sums of money on helping all countries and its people with rebuilding and supplying the necessities of life. In 1950, the U.S. was a major manufacturer of household goods, and prosperity happened until the mid-1960s. Even though the Korean War happened, the United States had a major surplus of war material and equipment on hand, not to directly impact U.S. spending. However, in 1960, the Vietnam War started to dramatically increase U.S. spending, particularly military expenditures. This impact lasted well into the 1970s. Then, in 1980s, the tax codes were changed for the benefit of major corporations and the wealthy, thus decreasing tax revenues. This continued into the 1990s and had a major impact in the years of 2000 and 2010. I will post this paper that I wrote on the Real True Americans website for your review and knowledge. At the end of the paper, I discussed some of the managerial economic solutions. One of them is the excess profit tax that was in effect in the 1940s and 1950s. In the past, companies, especially multinational companies, were focused on their employees and their customers, their community, and giving them a fair price, a decent wage, and great benefits. Now, especially multinational companies are focused on profit, and it's excess profit, which is basically just greed. If companies, especially global companies, do not want to pay their employees decent wages and great benefits, and stop price gouging their customers, then excess profit tax needs to go into effect. This is a simple analysis of a very complex subject on the laws of supply and demand of tax revenues. But the simple truth is Congress and some of the past presidents allowing businesses, especially multinational companies and special interest groups, to pay little to almost none of their fair share of tax revenue. We have a deficit that is out of control, and they are the ones to blame. After listening to this report and doing some research on your own, you will know this is the truth. On PBS in the 90s, Bill Moyer, M-O-Y-E-R, and company, did a series with the two Pulitzer Prize journalists on what went wrong with America. This revealed the truth of what went wrong with America and how government basically cut the tax revenues but continued to spend. So therefore, from 1980s, 1990s, and 2000, we have spent more than we have brought in. Therefore, the laws of supply and demand are out of whack. We need more supply and less demand, and they are not doing it on Capitol Hill. So go to realtrueamericans.org and you can see that simple analysis that I wrote, and you will know the truth about supply, tax revenues, and demand expenditures of this federal government. Thank you.